Aloha mai kako. Welcome to the Empowerment Practitioner Spotlight Series. I am Kahu Lāhela, and I am so delighted to be here today with all of you. In the Empowerment Practitioner Spotlight Series, I interview practitioners in the healing arts, various artists, people who are connected to the ʻaina, the land, or Hawaiian culture and language, enthusiasts, to support you on your journey of spiritual awakening and connectivity to Source. We all have our direct connection with our higher self, and yet it speaks so softly. This is the voice that is our inner guide who assists us on our path, helping us navigate life through the many changes and challenges that we face daily. Today, I have with me Megan Nolan, who resides on Maui. Megan is a self-care coach. Megan helps sensitive entrepreneurs to take control of their anxiety and break the cycles of self-sabotage. Megan is the creator of the Mindful Strength Method, which is her unique combination of yoga, toning exercises, and mental fitness that gives you the tools you need to be vibrantly, holistically healthy and sustainably successful. Aloha and welcome, Megan.
Aloha, and thank you for having me. Lovely to see you and to be here.
It's so wonderful to finally have this opportunity to interview you. You've been on my list for some time to have this conversation, so thank you. Would you please share with us a little bit about you, who you are, where you were before, and where you are now on your life's path?
Ooh, okay. Yes. It's definitely been a journey, as it has for all of us. So it's interesting who you were and where you were before. And I was thinking, about this interview, and there was a massive turning point on August 8th when we had our fires, and there was a before the fires Megan and an after the fires Megan. And so I think that's relevant to speak to, given our connection through this beautiful home that we get to so gratefully live on, be it on a different island, but very much connected. And so my journey is really one of following my own passion and purpose, of believing that in order to be truly successful, we do get to be healthy and happy, and supporting other entrepreneurs in doing so and being so, because I really am passionate about other entrepreneurs, being one myself, but that I believe we're a community of change makers, and on the road to achieving and doing big things, there can be many challenges. Inevitably, there will be challenges, and a lot of them will be external, but many of them are internal. And so using the tools of yoga and mental fitness to be able to navigate those with more grace and more ease, because yoga is so many things, and a lot of what we see is the physical practice, but that's really just a step along the way, and it truly is an inner transformational practice. And so really passionate about creating now a movement of people who care so much about how they feel that they do something for themselves every day. And it doesn't have to be a big hour-long practice. It can be going outside and standing on the ground and just dropping into their body so that they have a moment with themselves. It varies, right? It's a spectrum of possibility. And so that's my focus, and it has been for quite some time, because I've always loved movement and exercise. I was always dancing as a little girl and love running for a while before my knee decided I don't like running anymore. And then doing all of that, and really it's been a lot of twists and turns, and realizations of, in order to truly show up in integrity, which is a core value of mine, and I know of yours as well, that I get to practice what I preach. And there's been times, admittedly, when I wasn't, and that's when I got to the point of really needing the tools. But me being classically stubborn, sometimes I was like, I'm fine, and pushing through and recognizing the true depth and value in what I do. And so that was a lot of me before, and then we can go farther into how things changed on after the fires, but that's just a little intro into me.
That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, because I love how you mentioned about being successful to be healthy and happy, and that and while we want to, as entrepreneurs, we want to be successfully healthy and happy, but also there are those challenges that we face daily, and how we navigate through those challenges. And I appreciate what you said about there being the external challenges, but also the internal challenges, and how we deal with that. So would you share more about where you are now on your journey, and dive in a little deeper with what you feel is important? What are some simple things that people can do for themselves to help them on a daily basis with those? We witness the external things going on, like the Lāhainā fires, and that, I'm sure from firsthand experience. Well, and thankfully, we want to say mahalo kia kua, that you and your ohana, your home, are safe. But you're witnessing, and you are in the community where many people are suffering. And so what are some of the simple things that people can do to help themselves through these challenges, and these reminders that can help people to take another step and to pull themselves out of grief, even though grief is something that is going to take a while. We know that. We know how that there's no rushing through grief. But could you just kind of maybe share with us a little bit about what are some of the things that maybe you notice that's going on in the community, and how people are, not to only make this about the Lahaina fires, but just in general, that people everywhere are facing many challenges, and how can we navigate on a daily basis? And you said some beautiful things about just stepping outside and standing on Mother Earth. And
yes, it's an interesting thing. Grief is it's such a universal force, and it's so unpredictable. And I think it was really interesting to kind of watch myself and in the community of how there is that. It's a very protective mechanism of the initial shock, and that sort of frozen state of disbelief. And as that starts to thaw, then we start to really experience it. And I feel as though in myself and in other people, the real depth of the understanding and the impact is really settling in. We're almost at 3 months, a couple weeks away from 3 months when we're recording now, of it past. And it really feels as though it's just really starting to settle, because there was so much shock and so much disruption and so much initial action. And that was really interesting to see. And that's one of the things that's really helpful for us to, on a regular basis, to have, that helps to regulate our nervous system, is connection and community, and being in spaces where we are of assistance to others, because that's so important, right? And we understand that, especially living in on a isolated, beautiful island out in the middle of the ocean, very isolated. And I mean, obviously living on a volcano is vulnerable of itself, but being out here and really understanding the importance of supporting each other And so initially there was a lot of action, that's out of necessity. But I think that when we're in doing, we are not necessarily feeling the being. And so it's really important that, after, for me at least, we're seeing now that it's really a time for us to continually honor our feelings, because there is, out of necessity, there is moving forward of doing things to show up on social media to keep your business going. In my case, and for many other people, it's like we have to continue to take these actions of life, but yet when we feel that heaviness inside of us, it's really hard to continue to show up, and we don't necessarily need to do that all the time. And so on an ongoing basis, or especially when there's been an incident where it's been very intense and emotionally intense and traumatic on multiple levels, is something so simple, and yet something that we often forget, is the first and foremost tool that we have is our breath. And so really just dropping into the belly and doing soft belly breathing is something that's so potent. And so doing in through the nose and really long out through the mouth, because what we're doing there is we are using the main tool we have, our breath, to begin to activate and calm our nervous system. And so that's been something that is, we understand to be so innately powerful and grounding. But a lot of the time, at least for me, when there's other layers of emotion in there, of course there is the sadness and the grief that is, at least in my body, feels very heavy and contracted. But there's often other layers of anger and frustration and confusion. And so there's a lot of experiences and emotions happening simultaneously. And so another tool that can be really helpful, and especially when we feel that frozen, restricted feeling of a deep grief, is to just gently shake our body. And so what we're doing there is something that's just natural to any living being that has a nervous system, because when we shake our body, you see that with your animals all the time. You see it with birds, you see it with dogs. They shake their body, and what that does is it signals to your limbic system, a part of your brain, that the stressor is over. And so even if it's not necessarily fully over in your outer reality, you're at least telling your brain, for right now, we're safe. And that's so important, right? Because that's what we're looking for, is a feeling of safety. But yet after what happened here and what's happening in the world, sometimes that's not there immediately. And so it's so important to do what we can to create any sort of glimpse of that, because when we're under stress, we're very reactive. We get overwhelmed really easily. We're in a survival state. We're not in a higher functioning of brainstorming and all of that. It's out of necessity. We're very much in a focused state. So both the soft belly breathing and the shaking have been really, really helpful for me, and to be able to share that in my community has been really helpful for other people too.
I love that. It's so simple, and it's something that we can do for ourselves throughout the day. And it's just the reminder, right? That when we see something that's, we witness, like we're witnessing so much destruction everywhere now around the world. And it's easy to get caught up in the heavy emotions of what's happening to other people elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to, for myself, make the decision to turn it off. It is good. I do feel that it's important to know what's happening, so that I'm not just, an ostrich with his head in the sand, buried in the sand, or that I'm just living in my own little bubble here.
Mm-hmm.
But to know what's going on in the world, because it reinforces my kuleana, my responsibility to my kuleana, my reason for being here, at choosing to be here at this time on Mother Earth. And I know for a fact, and I know for myself and for you, most likely, that we chose to be here. And I chose to be here, and I know that I chose to be here to be of service. Same with you, I feel. And so it's important to know what's happening out there so that we can continue to bring in the love of the Blessed Mother, who I feel is very, very present with us. And she reminds us that we need to tap into our inner strength, our inner creative genius, our instincts, our mothering instincts. Even, this does not exclude men. Even men have a very caring, nurturing way and compassionate way about them. So it's just bringing in that energy to support us on our paths. And so I really appreciate that there are these simple tools of our breath. So simple. And not to forget that we have our breath, and we can use that to calm ourselves down. And in my work as well, I use my breath, my ha, to release heaviness, trapped emotions, anxiety, anything. We call them, whenever we dim our light, that it's in the Hawaiian culture, it's considered like you witness something that's traumatic, and you take in this heaviness, which we carry around with us, which is now dimming our light. And so it's important to release that on a daily basis for self-renewal. And as we use our breath, as we breathe in through our nose and exhale out our mouth, we can visualize that heaviness leaving our bodies. And as on the inhale, we can visualize bringing in that healing light to replace, because whenever we release something, we must replace it with something so that something else doesn't fill it without our permission. And so, and also really appreciate the technique of just shaking our bodies. That feels good to me. That's something that I think I'm going to need to do more regularly. I do have a rebounder, so I use my rebounder daily, and that is amazing for shaking the body. Yeah.
Yes, achieving the same thing, really, because what we're doing there is just moving through the joints and moving the cerebral spinal fluid and just giving your body a little bit of a reset, because we tend to really grip and hold, especially after witnessing very intense things or living through them, or just generally, most humans are holding on to a lot of tension. And as you said, holding a lot of energy from things that we've consumed and absorbed or been through or witnessed, and even if it's a totally normal situation, just consuming stuff on social media, and then the thoughts that we have about it. And so it just stays in our body unless we are consistently releasing it. And so that's so beautiful to be using the ha that way. And that's the essence of yoga, is allowing our energy to flow freely through our body and not have these stagnations and restrictions and patterns that are blocking it. And it really is, it's interesting because sometimes we're, in our fancy modern world, we're looking for fancy strategies and things that we can do, of the best of the best. Well, science tells us over and over that the best of the best thing that we can do is breathe deeply. And this is something that the ancients and beautiful cultures all around the world have been telling us for how many years, but yet we're so looking for something flash to be able to hack it all, and it's right there, literally underneath our nose the whole time.
Yes. So now they say that our attention is the greatest commodity that's being sought after, right? And so, and obviously we see this happening, with TV, with social media, with everywhere you look. everyone wants your attention.
Mhm.
And even with healing methods, right? And there are so many simple things that we can do for ourselves, and remedies that we can create for ourselves, holistic remedies that we can create for ourselves on our own, you know. And so these are the things that I think about too. Is I love to be thinking about, okay, what is my body capable of? What I know that this this is our temple, right? And in our kino, our body is amazing, and it has all of the intelligence within it. You know, we are amazing. Our bodies are amazing. Our mind, body, and soul connection, when in alignment, we're so connected. We have this divine connection to source, and information can flow in us and through us, and to help guide us and help us to navigate the challenges. And so, you know, I always say it's like being in the eye of the storm where it's clear, because being out here on the fringes, this is where it's confusing. You know, we're hit by confusion, devastation, tragedy, you know, heavy emotions, and everything that's swirling around us, and we're getting sucked here and sucked there.
Mhm.
But reminding ourselves to remain here in the center, where we can stand on Mother Earth, ground, connect to our breath. And I visualize all the fragments of me from the day, you know, being the caregiver, being, you know, the farmer, being the, you know, attending to my animals, and, you know, doing my kahu work and doing blessings. And I bring all those parts of myself back into wholeness, and then
Mm.
I ground and I center, and through my breath connect with divine source. And this way I feel restored and renewed, and whole, and just empowered. But it's remembering to do these things for myself, because I too can, you know, fall off the path, and it's about getting back on the path, right?
Mhm.
So can you speak a little bit about your journey, and how you navigate through challenging times, and what you're experiencing firsthand there on Maui?
It is, as you said, it's a daily practice. And I think when we are experiencing challenging times, it's even more important for us to really lean in and lean into support systems and to resources that are available, but also to really be consistent with ourselves. Because in order to really support ourselves, of course, we need external support, you know, and we've had a lot of that come into Maui, and which has been really helpful for the people directly affected and in community wise as well. But it's an ongoing process of healing. Healing is it takes time, right? And there's layers to it, of like, think of when we, you know, accidentally get a cut or something. There's like the initial part, and then there's the deeper healing, and then there's the scab, you know. And so it really does have layers to it. And so for me, it's, as you said, it's interesting because after stress, you know, for at least like, I'd say for about a week and a half after, because we had so many fires and then just a lot of incidents after, is I felt like I could just hear sirens all the time. And initially we did, because there was a lot of sirens and there was just a lot going on, and so there was a lot of sirens. But I would be in my car driving, listening to the radio, and I thought, am I hearing a siren? And I put the window down. And what's happening is, because you've experienced something so intense and stressful, your body is in a state of hypervigilance. And so at times there was sirens, but not all the time, and not many of the times. It was that my brain was constantly imagining that. And so it's so important to just really honor that, because a lot of times, if we don't really recognize what was happening in our body, it can be really tense and it can be very stressful. But what's happening in your body, whether you're dealing with something like we are here, or you're not, and you're in a totally normal situation, is that your body is after the one task of survival and protection. And so what it's doing, it's just naturally wired to do, but it's doing it at an accelerated rate. So to me, that really necessitated, okay, well, if my body thinks we're up here, then we really get to amp up the support and the nurturance and the practice, because that's such an important time. Because, if we're up here, then the need is up here. Whereas when we're, kind of even keel and we're cruising in, a normal day, then the need isn't as high. And so for me, it was really becoming as diligent as my body was being vigilant. It needed to be matched, because clearly there was just this frazzled feeling, and running on that long term, that's not good. These states of the nervous system we're meant to experience them and then regulate and complete the loop. But if our brain is just constantly in that fear state, it's not completing the loop. And so that's where the shaking practices and the journaling and the therapy and the body-based practices and the breathing and all the things really get to come into play. And so it's interesting, because there's a lot of resources that have come into place, but I think it's an important time for us all here and in the world, really, is to recognize the importance of creating safety within ourselves. And that external safety, yes, of course, that's important, right, in your surroundings, and just after tragedies like this, of resetting that. But that internal safety, that's really what we're looking for. And so how can we do this on a regular basis throughout the day? And so in my work, I really support people in having people do a morning ritual or routine to really set the tone for the day, to get into alignment on every level, but then taking little mini power pauses throughout the day, so that we're having those little touch points of coming back to center, as you said, because it can get really easy to spin around way out here, especially if we have a lot going on in many different ways and areas, that we can come off center. And so having these little touch points throughout the day really helps. And especially if we are of the, busy brained, creative, imaginative sort of personality like myself, and I know you are as well, and many people likely in your community, we can have a million and one ideas, and it's easy for us to say, oh, I'll do it later. I have to do this and this and this and this and this, and then I'll get to it. And it's really easy to put it off. But so that's where essentially we don't need to roll out the yoga mat every time we need to take a little power pause. It's anything that you do with mindfulness and presence becomes an opportunity to come back to center. So that way you're basically layering these things on. So when you're wearing your farmer hat and you're out there and you're laying the feed for the chickens or whatever it is, it's that moment of being present with the sound, being present with the feel of the seed in your hand. I don't feed chickens, so I'm making this up, but being present with the moment, right? And so, or washing the dishes, right? We hear this a lot of mindfulness in action, but especially in our busy, fast-paced life, as you said, where attention is our number one commodity, you deserve that attention too. And so that's really what this is it's just taking it from out here and bringing it back here.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
Yes, I was just visualizing me feeding the chickens, which I do have, by the way.
Yes, I thought I remembered that.
I feed them. And so, yes, I do spread the chicken feed out like that. And I was just seeing myself there in that moment and feeling that chicken meal just going through my fingers. And I was right there with you. So
I thought so too. I could feel you doing that too. And honestly, I've never explained it that clearly before. So I'm glad that that came out, because that is it. It's right. It's like, it's so easy for us to just pick up our phone first thing in the morning and we're like, okay, now this happened, email, and then we go put on all the hats that we wear. And it's just really spreading our attention outwards. And it's so important for us to do what we can to have those little mindful moments. And that's why layering it on with things that you're already needing to do throughout the day becomes a powerful opportunity to truly strengthen your ability to take control of your mind. And that's really what being centered means, is cultivating that connected awareness within ourselves by reining in the million and one different thoughts that we're having and the characters that we have in our head trying to get our attention. So it's that constantly bringing it back to focus, whatever you're choosing to focus on. And sometimes that might be more of a traditional meditation, but what we're doing there is really cultivating self-command. And that's truly one of the most powerful things we can do.
So thank you so much for that. Would you share a little bit about what you are offering? The
Sure.
the pause, I don't know what you'd call it. What do you call it?
Power pause.
Power pause. Thank you. Yes.
Take a power pause. Yes, yes. All about powering down to power up, because in our life we're just going, right? And that's so important, is that we recharge ourselves. And so mindful moments, like I've been speaking to, and so power pauses are that. And I like to weave together expansive breath work and yoga postures and different styles of meditation, so that we have those intentional moments with yourself and come into alignment physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, all at once, right? Because these things are beautiful, but we have other things to do as well. So I really like to weave it together so that it's as effective as possible, because that's really what we're doing, is what we've been speaking to, is a power pause brings us back to center. It brings us back into a place of connected awareness. And ultimately what it's doing is regulating your nervous system. And regulation of our nervous system is so important, because that's what controls our thoughts. And we know our thoughts control our actions, and our actions can impact our results, and all of that beautiful circle of creation of life. But a lot of times people just think it starts with our thoughts. But it's much deeper than that, because our thoughts are affected by our internal state. And so it's so important that we're doing these things, whether we're in a crazy stressful situation or not, ideally on a consistent basis, so that when we have the moments of really intense situation, that we're here, we're at like a 3 out of 10. We're not like running at a 9 because we're only drinking coffee and we haven't done anything for ourselves in 3 weeks. We're not at a 9, because then that'll take us to 100 if something happens. It's constantly just doing these little things along the way to stay in that place of center within ourselves. So Take a Power Pause is actually running for the month of November, because what better time than now to feel amazing and to take action on our goals. And so that is running from the 1st, so 11/1, November 1st, and they're happening Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and they're 15 minutes. And so people can just drop in to any of them that work for your schedule, and they don't build on each other. You'll learn lots of different tools, and we'll get to play with them, and you'll get comfortable with them. But if you're not able to join until like a couple days in, then you can still join. And if you haven't come in a week, you're not going to be left behind. So they're really designed to be drop-in, so that you can just pop in when you need them. And like I said, ideally we're coming consistently so that we can stay kind of even keeled. But they're set up so that you can pop in and come and go as it works for your busy schedule.
Are they also available on replay by chance? Or is it more
No,
like
I'm doing it live only, so that we have that commitment, because when we put it in our schedule, we're more likely to get there and do it. But I find, the replays right now, I'm like, maybe to be determined. I may add that in the future if we have a lot of questions on that, but right now, no, live only.
No, I like that, because then you're making a commitment to yourself to be present. Yeah.
That's
And
what I was
power pause
thinking.
out, right? It's like, no, we're doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, beautiful. How can people get in touch with you?
Well, you can come over. I have a special gift that I've been sharing with people lately, because of everything that's been happening, and just in general because of the tool set that I share. So you can go over to from Megan.com, and I'm sure we'll have that somewhere nearby. But it's an audio training that I created. So it's a 3-part mini audio training to help you to go from anxious to amazing and learn how to break the cycles of self-sabotage in just 15 minutes a day. So it's 3 little audios that you can listen to at your own pace, and it really gives you the tools that we've been speaking about. So you can grab that for free at giftfrommegan.com.
Beautiful, beautiful. And do you have a website?
It's Megan-Nolan.com.
Megan-Nolan.com. And very good. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being with me today. For the listening audience, I hope that you've enjoyed the conversation that we have. Please drop in the comments what you've enjoyed about, what you've learned about today, and what you appreciate and what you would like to begin using in your day, in your day-to-day self-healing and nurturing. Mahalo and aloha and eola pono. Live intentionally. Ahui ho for now.